The ability to communicate effectively in a second language isn't just a skill, it's a superpower that unlocks new worlds and opportunities. Today, we're diving into how to truly master that power, specifically in spoken English, by building the muscle memory to move from thought to fluent speech.
That's an incredibly powerful way to frame it. You know, that friction, it amplifies tenfold when you're trying to express complex thoughts in a language that isn't your first. We've all been there, right? That moment when a perfectly coherent thought in your native tongue just dissolves into a jumbled mess when you try to articulate it in English. It's like your brain hits a translation barrier.
Exactly, it's like you're playing a mental game of charades with yourself, constantly translating, rephrasing, and then articulating all in real time. And the pressure, especially in a conversation where you don't want to hold things up. That simple sentence you wanted to say suddenly feels like a complex mathematical equation you have to solve on the spot.
And it isn't just about knowing the words, is it? I remember feeling like I had a decent vocabulary. I could read English perfectly fine, but speaking felt like a different beast. The rhythm, the intonation, the speed, it all felt so foreign. It's a performance in a way, and you're not just delivering lines, you're conducting an entire orchestra of sounds and pauses.
That's a great analogy. It really is about conducting. What's fascinating is that a lot of what we consider fluency isn't just vocabulary or grammar. It's that seamless transition, that muscle memory, as if the language is flowing through you rather than being painstakingly constructed word by word. It's less about memorizing the entire dictionary and more about making that leap from thinking to speaking without tripping over your own mental shoelaces.
That's absolutely right. It's about getting out of your own way, in a sense. And what's interesting is that for many of us who are already creating content, managing channels, putting ourselves out there in other ways, we actually have a built-in advantage. We're already used to the idea of practice, of iteration, of putting something out there and refining it. We can leverage those existing habits to really accelerate our progress in speaking English.
Which brings us to some truly effective strategies. The first one, it's something I've heard about, but I don't think I've fully appreciated its power until now. The shadowing technique.
Oh, shadowing. This one is brilliant because it taps directly into that muscle memory concept. The idea is simple. You listen to a native speaker on YouTube or a podcast, and you repeat exactly what they say immediately after they say it. You don't wait for them to finish the sentence.
So it's almost simultaneous. You're mimicking their speed, their pauses, their intonation, even their emotional tone. It's like you're trying to become an echo. I can see how that would be incredibly effective. It forces your mouth, your tongue, your vocal cords to move in ways that are natural to English phonetics, rather than trying to map your native language's sounds onto English words.
Exactly. Think about how babies learn. They don't learn grammar rules first, they imitate. They mimic the sounds and rhythms they hear. Shadowing is a sophisticated version of that. It bypasses the conscious, analytical part of your brain that's translating and instead engages the intuitive, motor skill part. You're literally training your articulatory muscles.
That's so true. It's the difference between reading a recipe and actually cooking the meal. You can read all about chopping onions, but until you get a knife in your hand, you haven't really learned it. And mimicking the emotional tone too, that's crucial for natural communication. If you're saying, "I'm so happy," but your voice is flat, it doesn't convey the same meaning.
Right? It also helps with the flow, the rhythm of English, which is very different from many other languages. English has a stress-timed rhythm, creating a kind of musicality. Shadowing helps you internalize that. It's like learning to sing a song by singing along with the original artist, rather than just reading the lyrics sheet music.
Speaking of internal processes, the next strategy really hits home. Think in English. This is where most learners stumble, isn't it? That constant, exhausting translation from your native language to English in your head. It's like having an extra inefficient step in every single thought process.
Oh, the internal monologue? This is a huge one. It's the silent killer of fluency. You formulate a thought in your first language, translate it word for word, and by the time you're ready to speak, the moment has passed. It's incredibly inefficient.
And the advice here is to break that habit by narrating your day in English. Simple things like, "I am opening the laptop now," or I need to find a good thumbnail for this video. It sounds almost too simple, but I can see how powerful it would be. It forces your brain to operate directly in English, bypassing that translation step.
It's a mental workout. You're creating a constant stream of English in your mind, even when not speaking aloud. And it doesn't have to be complex. The cat is sleeping on the couch. I'm making a cup of tea. It's about building that direct connection between thought and English expression.
And there's a really clever twist. If you don't know a word, don't look it up immediately. Instead, try to describe it in English. So instead of refrigerator, say the cold box for food. That's brilliant. It forces you to work with the vocabulary you do have, and it trains you to paraphrase, which is a crucial skill for spontaneous speaking.
That's where creativity comes in. It's problem solving in real time, and it takes the pressure off. You're not failing for not knowing a word. You're succeeding by finding a way to communicate the concept. It builds confidence.
It also makes you less reliant on a dictionary, which is often not available mid-conversation. It's about developing strategies for navigating those linguistic gaps. And I think that's a key part of fluency, and not just knowing everything, but knowing how to cope when you don't.
Exactly. Fluency isn't about perfection, it's about effective communication. And that leads us nicely into the next point, which is about focusing on chunks, not words. This is another game changer.
Oh, absolutely. This is something native speakers do instinctively, but learners often miss. We don't speak in isolated words, we speak in phrases, in collocations. So instead of just learning decision, you learn make a decision. Or instead of heavy, you learn heavy rain or heavy traffic.
It's like building with Legos versus building with individual atoms. When you learn make a decision as one unit, your brain retrieves that entire block of information. It's much faster and more efficient than trying to assemble make, a, and decision separately every single time. It's prepackaged language.
And it sounds so much more natural. If you're just stringing individual words together, it can sound stilted, even if your grammar is technically correct. But when you use these common chunks, these fixed expressions, you sound more like a native speaker. Think about how many times we say have a good day or take a break. Those are all chunks.
They are. And it's not just about speed, it's about accuracy and idiomatic expression. Many verbs pair with specific prepositions, for example, and learning them as chunks, depend on, listen to, is much more effective than trying to guess the preposition every time. It reduces cognitive load.
It's like having a library of pre-built sentences or sentence fragments that you can just plug and play. And for someone who's trying to speak fluently, that's invaluable. It streamlines the entire process. It moves you from consciously assembling words to subconsciously accessing ready-made phrases.
Which brings us to a strategy that should feel very familiar to anyone involved in content creation: record and review. This is something we do all the time, right? Recording ourselves, listening back, identifying areas for improvement.
Exactly. This is where our existing skills really shine. We're already comfortable with audio and video. So the idea of recording yourself speaking for, say, 60 seconds about a movie you watched or a DIY project shouldn't feel too daunting. It's just another form of content.
And the magic happens when you listen back. It's often painful, isn't it? Hearing your own voice, especially in a new language. But that's where the self-correction comes in. You can identify exactly where you hesitated, where you stumbled, where your pronunciation wasn't quite right.
It's like watching a replay of a sports game. You see your own mistakes, your own missed opportunities. Did you miss an S at the end of a verb? Was your th sound clear? These are things you might not notice in the moment, but they become glaringly obvious when you listen back.
And that awareness is the first step to improvement. It's hard to fix something if you don't know it's broken. Plus, it gives you a baseline. You can record yourself again a week later, doing the same exercise, and genuinely track your progress. That's incredibly motivating.
It also helps build confidence. The more you hear yourself speaking, even with mistakes, the more comfortable you become with the sound of your own voice in English. It normalizes it.
Absolutely. And this leads us to the final strategy, which is often overlooked but is incredibly important for sounding natural and fluent. Use connectors, or what some people call fillers.
Ah, the bridge phrases. Fluency isn't just about speed, It's about flow. And these connectors are like the mortar between the bricks of your sentences. They give you time to think without actually stopping the conversation dead in its tracks.
Precisely. Think about how often native speakers use phrases like, to be honest, or actually, I think, or that's an interesting point. They're not just random words, they serve a purpose. They signal a shift in thought, they soften a statement, they buy a few precious seconds for your brain to formulate the next idea.
It's a very human element of conversation. No one speaks in perfectly formed, uninterrupted sentences all the time. There are natural pauses, hesitations, and these connectors fill those gaps gracefully. Without them, your speech can sound abrupt, even robotic.
And it makes you sound more natural, more conversational. If you're struggling to find the exact word instead of just going silent, you can say, well, it's difficult to explain, but... And that gives you a moment. It keeps the communication channel open.
It's about maintaining that conversational rhythm. It's the difference between a jerky stop-start engine and a smoothly purring one. And it's a skill that can be consciously developed. You can start by noticing how native speakers use them, and then try to incorporate a few into your own speech.
It's a sign of confidence, too. In a way, you're not afraid to take a moment to use these little linguistic buffers. It shows you're comfortable enough with the language to navigate those tricky moments, and it reinforces that crucial pro tip that often gets lost in the pursuit of perfection. Don't be afraid of mistakes.
That's the ultimate takeaway, isn't it? Fluency is about communication, not perfection. If the other person understands you, if you're getting your message across, you are winning. The goal isn't to sound like a perfect robot, it's to connect, to express, to be understood.
Exactly. We put so much pressure on ourselves to be flawless, but that fear of making a mistake often paralyzes us. It prevents us from even trying. But every mistake is a learning opportunity. It's a signal that you're pushing your boundaries, that you're actively engaging with the language.
It's a journey, not a destination. These strategies, from shadowing to thinking in English, from chunks to recording, and finally to using connectors, are all tools to help make that journey smoother, more efficient, and ultimately more enjoyable. They help build that muscle memory, that intuitive flow that makes speaking English feel less like a chore and more like a natural extension of your thoughts.
So, whether you're narrating your morning coffee routine in your head, or mimicking a podcast host, or simply using to buy yourself a second, remember that every little effort contributes to that bigger goal of truly expressing yourself. It's about empowering your voice in English, and that's a powerful thing.
Absolutely, it's about finding that freedom in expression. And that, I think, is a goal worth pursuing.